of people who voted for Biden in 2020, 83% of those will vote for him again, whereas people who voted for Trump in 2020, 97% will vote for Trump. So Trump's got a bigger enthusiasm rating.
Nikki Haley pulling out of the race to become the Republican nominee in the presidential election in November. Yesterday on Super Tuesday, she won just one of the 16 states up for grabs. Here was Nikki Haley speaking just a couple of days ago.
Republicans lost the vote on Mayorkas. They lost the vote on Israel. The RNC chair lost her job, and Donald Trump had his fingerprints on all of it. At some point, maybe we should say the reason that America keeps losing is because of Donald Trump.
And yet, in this race, Donald Trump kept on winning. So let's speak now to Jennifer Ewing, a spokesperson for Republicans Overseas UK. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, how are you, Matt?
I'm very good. I'm very good. How do you feel about Nikki Haley pulling out?
I don't think it's a huge surprise. She had said all along that she was going to stick through at least till Super Tuesday, which she did. So she'll be making her announcement around, I think, 2 p.m. our time here in the UK. So yeah, not a huge surprise. Makes it a much cleaner race as we look forward to the general. Interestingly, last night, Trump did not actually mention Nikki Haley with regards to his, comments after winning most of the delegates, whereas he had mentioned her in sort of unsavory ways in speeches in the past. So I think it's very clear he's now just looking to the general, and not a big surprise that she's out.
In fact, we could listen to a little bit. This was Donald Trump, like you said, in his speech on Super Tuesday, turning all of his fire not on Nikki Haley's opponent in the race to become the Republican nominee, but criticising directly Joe Biden.
He's the worst president in the history of our country. There's never been anything like what's happening to our country. Today it was announced that 325,000 people were flown in from parts unknown. Migrants were flown in airplane, not going through borders, not going through that great Texas barrier that I was with the governor of Texas, Greg Abbott, the other day, and we were looking at the job they're doing. But in the meantime, they're pouring into California and they're pouring into Arizona.
Jennifer, can you try and explain to listeners in the UK who will look at what's going on in American politics? Joe Biden's clearly, faced a lot of criticism for that. He keeps forgetting apparently where he is or what he's talking about and getting to the end of a sentence. And then, the prospect of him in the White House for another 4 years seems slightly baffling. But explain Donald Trump's appeal in America, because people outside will think he's got all of these court charges against him, civil cases, criminal cases, arguments about whether or not he should be on the ballot. And yet he's been chosen again by the Republican Party and is ahead in the polls. Can you explain to baffled Brits how Donald Trump's popularity is holding up?
Sure. And actually, the clip you just played said a lot about what he is appealing to for the voters. And the number one issue right now in America is southern border security. It plays more than the economy, than inflation, and then crime, because I think a lot of people realize with the open southern border, all of those other three issues, which are also very important, are affected. So there is no doubt, if you go back to 2015 and Trump was talking about build a wall, close the border, and while he didn't finish the wall, he did have some very good border policies. And President Biden, literally on his inauguration day, started putting a line through a lot of those. In the end, he did 93 executive actions. One of the biggest ones was to get rid of Remain in Mexico. So that's number one. And the border issue is no longer just for places like my home state of California or Texas or Arizona, New Mexico, the border states. It is actually permeated throughout the country. If you look at the polls after the Ohio caucus, the primary that we had a month or so ago, that was also the number one issue. So that's number one. Number two, I just think Biden's administration and presidency has been a complete failure. Despite the fact that they're trying to now run on the economy, I mean, perhaps the stock market looks good or asset prices look good, but that's not affecting the everyday person. So the everyday voter is kind of listening to the Biden administration say, "Oh, this is a great economy," and then they're looking at, you know, their grocery bill or their mortgage rates and thinking, "Are you kidding me? Like, no, my life is not better today than it was 4 years ago," and that's how former President Trump is going to win back those voters. Another interesting statistic, Matt, is I think it came over the weekend. And it was of people who voted for Biden in 2020, 83% of those will vote for him again. Whereas people who voted for Trump in 2020, 97% will vote for Trump. So Trump's got a bigger enthusiasm rating.
If it wasn't Joe Biden and someone else was running for the Democrats, would that make life harder for Donald Trump?
Absolutely. I mean, no question about it. And depending on what poll you look at, you can take a so-called generic Democrat and they do well, much better than Biden and certainly better than Vice President Harris with President Trump. So that's why many of us in the Republicans Overseas UK party, when this all kicked off, we were very excited about Governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis. He had a lot of Trump's good policies. He'd done the job as governor, and he could run or serve rather 2 terms. Trump can only serve 1. And he didn't have a lot of the baggage, you know, the lawfare baggage. What's interesting, however, if you look at about a year ago, Trump and DeSantis were neck and neck in the polls, you know, very, very close. And then as soon as these 4 big indictments, you know, 91 charges started coming up against Trump, Trump's numbers skyrocketed. And I think that's because people really did think that the justice system was being weaponized against Trump. And voters don't like that. You know, if you don't want President Trump to win again, then don't vote for him in November. And that's what you saw the Supreme Court come out and rule earlier this week, 9-0, that Colorado and other states could not remove Trump from the ballot. So let's just have this play out at the ballot box in November.
Yeah.
Trump versus Biden, if that is who the Democrats end up running with, which you know, I have some views on that.
Jennifer, really fascinating to speak to you. Thank you for that. Jennifer Ewing there, spokesperson for
Welcome.
Republican Overseas UK.